And it's like the bridge to nowhere. Right, just at the end. But, you know, Michael can tell us really what he had envisioned, because he's the composer you just heard, Michael Holloway, here on KFAI, with a piece that's actually the second part of his piece in two parts about the Guthrie Theater on Washington Avenue. And he's part of the art-inspired music project that's happening right now at the McNally Smith School of Music, with its public reception all day on Saturday, right there when you walk into the McNally Smith School of Music, 19 Exchange Street in downtown St. Paul. Mm-hmm. So that makes it a little less scary for me, because I wasn't quite sure how to find the gallery. Well, if it's right there when I walk in, it'll be easy for me to find. There's headphones, and then the actual visual arts that these students composed to. And Michael, the Guthrie, I don't think any building would be necessarily easy to compose about, but the Guthrie, the new Guthrie on Washington Avenue. Tell me about how you became connected with that.
Well, earlier in the studio we were talking about Billy's conception and how he feels this project has mystical powers. And he had kind of said that the Guthrie seemed like it was a good fit for me, and it really didn't seem like anybody else wanted it. So that's kind of how I ended up with it.
The other part of the story, yeah.
And I had never written music for really anything other than film, certainly not a building. But I got assigned it, and then I took a tour with Louise, the education director over there, who's great, and she was a huge help to me. And it's a very hard building to comprehend at first when you see it. And she was so helpful in getting me to take a very visual image and turn it into something that you can hear.
Well, I feel like listening to that piece, I feel like I am on a tour of the Guthrie building. I feel like I'm rounding corners and discovering new features of the building. And that's why at the end, as it's such a gentle ending to that piece, I feel like I'm on that bridge, and I'm just, kind of going to and just sitting down, and that's that. And that was my tour.
Yeah.
And then I got to turn around, and there will be some timpani or something because I'm running out of the building. I'm obviously teasing, but I need to ask Michael, two pieces. Your composition about the Guthrie is actually in two pieces. Yeah. We heard the second piece. Tell me about how that happened and how you as a composer decided it needed to be two pieces.
Well, for the people who've been inside the Guthrie, maybe they can understand it. It's such a diverse building, and the rooms are so different from one another that it was so overwhelming. I didn't feel I could represent it accurately in one piece, so I felt the need to write two movements. And the first movement is a string quartet, a very rich romantic piece that I wrote specifically for a theater in there called the McGuire Proscenium. It's a very rich red satin theater, so I felt the need to write a movement for that, and then it was much easier for me to write 6.5 minutes for the rest of the building. So that's kind of how it got split up.
Huh. And Ryan, your piece is about a painting, a local artist, Laura
Andrews.
And you're okay. Let me have a shot at this word again. This is the kind of word you only read, and you would only read it if you had some kind of stomach problem. The word is bezoar. Did I say it right?
Bezoar or bezoar. I think either way you could get away with it. But yeah, it's a fungus believed to have magical powers that grows in the stomach, and it's a very interesting thing.
But tell me about the painting, though. The painting is really beautiful, and it's very textural. The painting is so tell me about, because it doesn't. I didn't look at it and go, oh yeah, obviously it's a medical ailment.
Yeah,
I went, what is bezoar, and looked that up, and
it's I was definitely attracted to it because of its beauty. And it's actually a painting of the Wabasha Street Bridge in a double perspective. And she's trying to use the idea of the bezoar and the idea of multiple perspectives in life to show kind of at any point in time in her point of view, she's standing on the Wabasha Street Bridge and thinking about all these different things in your life and how everything comes together. You can kind of almost look into your imagination sometimes and see how the imagery that pairs with your thoughts can create many different perspectives. And as she said, she likes the painting to be able to be turned any way, and you can look at it any way you like. There's no set viewpoint for it, so it really attracted me to it because it's so open-ended, and yet it just sucked me right into it because it's just like feel like I really understand that.
So you were given sort of options of different things you could write a piece about, and this is the one you chose, the painting by Laura. And Ryan, I have to ask, did you have, as you were looking at that painting for the first time, did you have sounds in mind that you decided did not work once you got into composing, did not work to capture the texture or the color you had wanted to capture?
You know, I kind of had a little bit of the sound in my imagination, kind of dark overtones with some light, string sounds over top of it. And I didn't really have anything that didn't fit when I approached it. It was kind of more when I approached it, it more took over me than me taking over it. And it really surprised me because it's like, I just kind of started composing it and the song like almost built itself as I started creating it. And it really let me know there was a lot of emotion and passion behind the painting because it really came through and made things a really delightful process to have that inspiration. So as far as hearing it before it, it's hard to say because it was so in the moment. It was kind of like I went into a trance with the painting and just kind of, if you want to say dance with the music almost, it just put itself together as I went. So.
Well, we're going to listen to that piece now, and then we'll come back and hear a little bit more about the other composers and this show that's happening right now at McNally Smith School of Music. I know it makes you feel like you have to run down there now, right? Again, the timpani, but it's the art-inspired music project. This is Ryan Horton's composition, Bezoar 2.